Good morning and welcome to the Spring Business Process User Group meeting. It's my pleasure to welcome you all. We have a full agenda of topics for us to discuss today. But before we get started, I want to remind everybody that if you're having technical issues, please use the chat function of the webinar. If you have questions that you'd like to ask our panelists, please use the Q&A section of the webinar, and we will answer your questions throughout the presentation. So today our goal is to cover the following topics here. First, Lucas Nelson is going to provide an update to a new SIS financial report, followed by a quick update from John Westoff on the e-business fall upgrade and how that will impact our end users across campus. Jill Thrasher, our payroll manager, will be providing an overview of a couple of key policies of the university. The first is telework agreements. The second is off-campus use of equipment. Mindy Schlater is going to provide an update for all of you on the fiscal year closing schedule with key dates that you need to be aware of. And then finally, Beth Keel will provide an update from a human resources perspective. So that's the agenda today. So we'll start with our first panelist.
Thank you, Christina. So I'm going to be giving you an update about a report that we have for those departments that have charges in the student information system. Let me share my screen here. So today the report lives in the portal under the reporting tab. It is this SIS financial reporting workspace. And so what I've done is moved these two reports from this workspace, and I've placed them in the report center. It's under the financial accounting dashboard, and it's called Student Financials. And these are the two reports that we have moved from the portal workspace into the report center. I'll give you a quick demo of these. You type in the account that you'd like to look up. And it will provide you all of the transactions that have taken place in the Student Information Center based on this account. Secondly, you can use this report, which is run by item type. I have one to paste in here for an example for you. Hopefully. Maybe not. Let's try a different date. There we go. So you can also run this report by item type as well, and that will give you the transactions if you know your item type that happened in the student information system. If you have any questions on these reports, you can put those in the Q&A, or you can also reach out directly to myself, give me a call or send me an email. Next up, we have John giving an update about the fall e-business upgrade.
Good morning, everybody. I'm John Westoff. I work as the procurement manager over here in OBO. I'm going to keep my part pretty brief this morning. We're just going to hit the high level of what the upgrade is going to be looking like for iProcurement. So everyone, this year's upgrade is going to change the look of what iProcurement is. Notably, the biggest change is going to be in the checkout process. It's our hope that these changes are happening to help streamline the processes and make it a little easier to check out and make it more like checkout at other online stores. We are working with the upgrade teams to make sure that all the pieces are working and they work as expected, and that we are ready for the upgrade this fall. The date of the upgrade hasn't been determined. We're still working on that piece right now. But prior to the upgrade, we will be holding trainings for everybody to make sure that everybody's comfortable and they're all ready to understand and work with the system. We'll let everybody know that training schedule in advance. We'll let you know how we're gonna be holding the trainings. We're hoping to do it both virtually and live if possible. So there will be more pieces coming up. So that's my brief overview. And next it's off to Jill.
Jill, you are on mute.
Thanks, Christina. Can everybody see my PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay. Good morning. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Jill Thrasher. I'm the new payroll manager in the Office of Business Operations. Today, I'm going to be touching briefly on the Telework Agreement and the Fixed Asset Off-Campus Equipment Use Form. With COVID and an increase in those working remotely, we have started to see an increase in the number of employees working out of state. So when someone lives in a state and works in another, we have to make a determination based on several factors as to what impact that may have on payroll taxation, and also take into consideration the labor laws within the state. While some states are similar, some are very different. That is why it's important for human resources and payroll to be aware of each situation and determine the impact that it may have. So if you have an employee that will be working remotely, I would suggest that you take a look at the Telework Policy 4.26. Information regarding teleworking can be found on the HRS webpage at the address listed on the top of the slide. This is a great resource for information. If an employee will be working remotely, a telework agreement must be completed. The link to the telework agreement can be found on the same page. So some important things to note about the telework agreement. The telework agreement is required for anyone working remotely on a regular basis. It must be approved before the remote work begins. Some of the state requests for telework may not be able to be approved based on the tax and/or employment law issues. If you have specific questions regarding telework agreements, Lisa Fresh in Human Resources would be able to assist you with that. In addition to the telework agreement, the Fixed Asset Off-Campus Use Form should also be completed. This link can also be found on the HR webpage.
Jill, we have a question about the telework policy before you finish the campus use of equipment.
Okay.
And the question is what if they are doing telework and coming to campus as well?
So you're thinking like a part-time situation where they're partly on and partly off campus?
I believe that's what it's referring to, is like a hybrid model.
Sure. In that situation, yes, the telework agreement would need to be completed.
Okay, another question. Does this telework agreement include those that are teaching and working with a summer camp? And do those temporary employees also have to sign an agreement?
So if I understand you correctly, they would be off campus or on campus?
I don't know if I can discern that from the description. Kim Schnell, if you can, oh, they are teaching virtually off campus.
Then yes, that would need to be completed as well.
Okay, does the telework agreement apply for any faculty teaching remotely?
Yes, it does.
Okay, I think that's it for our questions so far.
Okay, just let me know. So the fixed asset equipment and off-campus use. Policy 8.01 addresses that use form. Some important things to note about the off-campus use form. Equipment should not be removed until a university tag has been affixed and the off-campus use form is completed. Approval must be given by the department head, dean, or administrative officer before property can be removed. And the form should be completed every 12 months. So if they have one currently every 12 months, that needs to be renewed.
Jill, we have one more question that has come in. Is the telework agreement required for temporary faculty teaching off campus?
The best thing to do in that situation would be to contact Lisa Fresh and HR to talk through that, because depending upon the time frame that they're going to be doing that, it may be required. But some of those, again, Lisa Fresh would probably be the best contact for that to determine if that is needed.
Great. And then Lori asked, is it possible to receive a copy of the fixed asset form once it is completed? Lori, that is not something that we are able to answer right now. At this point in time, I don't believe that a copy is sent to the department that submits it. We will take that as a takeaway to see if we can get to see if that's possible. We have a question here from Karen. If I took equipment home last March and continued to telework, but it has never been tagged, what do I do? The short answer to that question, Karen, is that you need to fill out the off-campus use of equipment form so that fixed asset knows about it, and they'll provide further direction. If you filled out the form already and it didn't get tagged, I would recommend speaking with Mark Fober to determine next steps. We have another question from Alicia. Is the telework agreement required for student employees working during the summer?
Not that I'm aware of, but again, that would be something you might want to speak to Lisa Fresh about, just to ensure that everything is covered.
All right. Last call for questions related to telework or off-campus equipment use. Just want to remind everybody that there is a telework task force that's looking at what are we going to do beyond COVID and the pandemic. And you should all have received a survey request from Lisa to provide details and comments about your perspective on that topic as we look forward and how we're going to manage telework on our campus post-COVID. We do have another question. Are laptops considered fixed asset equipment? The short answer to your question is it is an asset of the university, so it does need to be reported to their office, so that form does need to be completed. Believe that we do have another question coming in from Cindy. Is this retroactive to those working remotely now for COVID?
And yeah, yes, it would be.
All employees that are working telework currently should have a telework agreement on file with HR. And then we have a question coming in. Use of a departmental laptop at home, do we need to complete a form? And the answer is yes. Any equipment owned by the university should be documented on the off-campus equipment form. All right, I think that's the last of our questions about those two. Just kidding, I have one more question. Is there a form to complete when we turn equipment back in? I don't think there's a particular form that needs to be completed. But I do think that you can inform fixed asset that the equipment is back on campus, but we'll confirm what the procedure is for that and send it out to the e-business user group just to be sure and make that clear for the rest of campus. Okay, I think we are ready to move to our next panelist. Thank you, Jill. Mindy, you're up with the fiscal year closing process.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Hey everyone, I'm Mindy Schlater. I'm the Accounts Payable Manager in OBO. I will be going over just some of the highlights of our closing schedule. But if you want to see the full schedule, you can see that out on the business operations website. If you go to our homepage, there's actually a link out there now under news and announcements. Otherwise, if you go under accounts payable and on the right hand side under other resources, if you scroll to the bottom, there's a link that says year-end closing schedule. That will take you to the page that I'm showing you right now. So just jumping in here, like I said, there's a lot of information at the top. I'm not going to go through all that. So I would encourage everyone to go out and kind of check that out. I'm just going to touch on a few of the highlights for dates to call to your attention. So the first one I will point out is Friday, June 11th. This will be the last day that approved purchase requisitions will be accepted for the general fund. The next date to look at would be Monday, June 14th. This is the recommended last day for P-card purchases that you would like to charge to the fiscal year 21 budgets. The reason we recommend this is because there could be a delay from the time you make a purchase to when it actually posts to your statement. So making sure you get it in by June 14th will give you time for it to actually post, so you don't run the risk of it posting after that last statement closing date. And just as a reminder, the statements do close in June on June 25th, which is a Friday. So we do not assign vouchers until the following Monday, which is the 28th. So there is a little bit more of a delay than in prior years because of that weekend in there. The next date to bring to your attention would be Friday, June 18th. This is the last day that you are able to purchase from iProcurement stores. Next, the next date that I want you to keep in mind would be Tuesday, July 6th. Let's scroll down there. This would be the last day that request for payments, travel expense vouchers, and PO purchases that are being charged to fiscal year 21 budgets will be accepted by the business operations office. So you want to make sure you get these in and approved in workflow to us by the end of the day on July 6th. Also on July 6th, this will be the last day that you can receive an Oracle for PO purchases that are delivered by June 30th and prior. July 6th is also the last day that Pro Card vouchers that are approved in workflow will be being charged to fiscal year budget will be accepted, including June 2021. So that one is a bit of a tight turnaround. So that's always a date we want to call attention to make sure that you are getting those submitted and fully approved in workflow into our office by the 6th, because we have a short window to turn around and get those audit passed by our office so that it reflects in the statement of account details. So just be sure you're getting all of those P-card vouchers in and fully approved by July 6th. And then Thursday, July 8th, this is when all invoices that have been entered should be available for review on the statement of account. Friday, July 9th, this is when famous charges will be available for review on the statement of account. And then Friday, July 9th is also the last day that adjusting journal entries for fiscal year 21 will be accepted. That being said, there are a couple other additional notes to keep in mind. And this is talked about up above in some of this other information, but For accounts receivable invoicing, you'll want to keep in mind that we will have 2 periods open for a little bit of time. There will be fiscal year 21 and fiscal year 22. So when you're entering those invoices, you want to make sure that you're getting those entered in the correct period. So if you want it to be in fiscal year 21, you may have to backdate those invoices to make sure that it's using the GL date of fiscal year 21 rather than fiscal year 22. So keep that in mind. And then finally, if you have any invoices that need to be a prepaid, which means we pay it in fiscal year 21, but we don't receive the goods or services or fully receive the goods or services until fiscal year 22 or later, you want to make sure that we have those in our office to be entered and paid by the end of the day on June 30th. If it is not paid by the end of the day, we do that at the very end of the day, but if it's not paid by that day, it will not be considered a prepaid because it will be paid July 1st or later, which would be fiscal year 22. So keep that in mind as well to make sure you're getting those turned in plenty of time to get them in the period that you want those in. So any questions on the closing schedule? If not, I will pass it over to Beth with the human resource update.
Good morning, Beth Keel from Human Resources. What I was going to share with you today, at the time we created the agenda, we weren't sure when we were going to launch the PAF system. The system has gone live and you will be able, I'm actually in a test instance right now and just wanted to share with you what it looks like, a little bit of a fresh look, and some new tools have been added within the PAF system. We've also reworked the entire PAF support page and want to draw your attention to the announcements. Within the announcements, we do have a link. Right now, we have workshops that we're offering to PAF preparers. There's one today, this afternoon, and then 2 next week. So if you're interested in learning more, it's about an 1.5-hour workshop, and we go through the new features in detail of the new PAF system. With the new layout, we also have all the faculty and GA dates already published for 21 and 2022. We have quick login links to all of the systems that tie really closely with that, in addition to the PAF system. And then the stakeholders. We have redesigned the entire support page to really look at the different roles that are involved within the PAF system process. And so there's a one-stop shop now for PAF preparer. And if you click on that link, you're going to see a description. The top reference PAF resources that are used by PAF preparers. This includes how to use eBusiness Suite for your work list access, setting up a vacation rule, the offer letters, the new hire paperwork link, and so forth. This page is not just designed for PAF preparers that have been doing it for years. It's also designed for new PAF preparers. So if you have anybody new in your department, you can share this link. And again, it steps through their role, what they need to know, impact, tips from other PAF preparers, and even step-by-step guide on how to request and what to request through the security request system, how to access the PAF system, because there's many different ways to access the PAF system, along with eBusiness Suite approving PAFs, and then a list of contact information. I should log out of this quick so it looks a little bit, there we go. So let me go back to the PAF home system. PAF collaborators is a new role involved with the PAF system. We now have Dean's Assistants and the Graduate College and Human Resources before workflow goes to approval workflows goes to the department. That includes directors, department heads, deans, and VPs. These group of individuals can actually have the ability to update the PAF, therefore, in most cases, not needing to reject the PAF. This web page is actually designed just for them, but it gives quite a bit of information on why this is in place. Since January 2018, we've processed over 16,000 PAFs. And of those PAFs, 20% of them were rejected, but then later processed. And then the list below here really breaks down where those are being rejected at. And the majority of them are being rejected by the dean's assistants, the graduate college, and then HRS employment. So this new feature for them to be able to update the PAF at their approval level allows the those that are looking over the PAFs to make those slight changes, not reject them, and then move to the department for approval. So that is a huge new feature within the PAF system. We also have a link here for PAF approvers. For those that are having new directors and department heads, you can provide this link, and it truly is one-stop shop for approvers and walks them through what they need to know, which is a little bit different than what the preparers and the collaborators need to know, how they access eBusiness Suite, and then how they would actually access PAFs. PAF approvers typically do not have MW04 or the ability to create PAFs. And so how they view PAFs after they've approved them is different. So those instructions would be different. We also have the employees role. As many of you know, for special comps, there was a change prior to about a year and a half ago. There was a special comp form that needed to be completed by the employee and then needed to be approved. It was all paper-based. We have eliminated that process, and now it is through the PAF system. So the employee actually approves their own special comp PAF before it goes to departmental approval. So that's why this webpage is there. Again, once you have submitted a special comp, if you have a new employee or somebody who might not be used to approving their own PAFs, this instruction is specifically just for them because their instructions are different. And even again, how they would view the PAF would be different than what a PAF preparer would view. So you can actually send this link to them. The other big major change to the PAF system is the new addition of multiple different PAF types. We have now added the ability to make a special comp change, so you can change a special comp. Summer has been renamed to SMO because now this not only encompasses summer, but also our winter sessions. So it's SMO for other session appointments. We have added an award payment, which typically we see at the college and at the provost level. And any type of awards now will be processed in a PAF. Bonus payment is something typically athletics is using, and I see some attendees from athletics. They will use the bonus payment PAF type. And intermittent pay is for faculty temps on an intermittent call-in who are being set up as an intermittent call-in. So this really only impacts a few departments, about 2 departments, but they will now use this PAF type. Prior to these 3 PAF types, they were all processed on a special comp, which created an issue because those weren't special comps. And so we would have to pull those PAF types or those when they were processed when asked for an audit or open records. So this makes it a much cleaner and also allows us to process them accurately. Questions about the help page or the workshops? I will show very shortly the PAF system of some new features, but any questions about the support pages?
Beth, we do have one question. And it's who gets the notification that a change was made to the PAF?
Okay, great question. So the change PAF, if a PAF collaborator makes a change, the PAF preparer always gets the notice. And in addition, anyone who has approved the PAF. If someone's going to approve it in the future, they don't get the notification. It's only if they've approved it. The reason why typically where we're asking these changes to be made is before it hits departments. So the departments and the VPs and the colleges will automatically see the changes that were made. the PAF preparer is the one that really needs to be notified. But again, whoever's approved that particular PAF at that time will receive notification. And there's also a detailed audit. So I'm going to click here on the personal action form to go back. Let's see if I've made a change to this. Let's click on open. There is a history tab. Yes, we've made changes to this particular one in this test instance. There is a history tab that's going to give an audit of the changes. So it's showing Lisa made a change. Again, this isn't a test instance, and the date and time, what the value was, and what the new value has been made. And again, what this field is. This would also have been sent out to an email to the PAF preparer. And again, anybody, if I look at the workflow, whoever's approved it, and you can see in this case, I rejected it, only Anne would have received that email. I rejected it after that change was made based on that date because I actually rejected it today. Any other questions about the history or help page?
We have one question. Some of the support page links in the PAF are not working. Are they being updated still, or should we report those as we come across them? And if they report them, where do you want them reported?
Like always, the pages should have been updated, so please send them. All technical questions as it relates to PAF should always go to paf-support@uni.edu.
Great.
Okay. Some of the new features prior to the implementation of the new system, you would have had to complete a JW14 in order to request early access. We now have that built into the new PAF type. Based on what options you select, so I'm going to select the faculty position. If you have a faculty position, you can now request early access within the new PAF system, and you don't even need to submit the entire PAF. Just by checking these boxes and hitting submit request for early access, you now are requesting access. Why would you use this over the JW14? If it's a faculty position, you can now request early building access. So you can select building access. When you hit submit request for early access, it will go out, and that will, the next day, you will have that as an option in the building access request form. If it is a non-faculty position, building access is not available for professional and scientific and merit positions, but you still can request all of these three things ahead of time if needed. Where we see most of the time, it's email. You want to have new employees have access to email. So this is a really easy way. All you have to do is start the PAF. It is the first tab, and you'll see University System Access. So that is now built into the new PAF. In addition, we have a Duties tab. In the Duties tab, I didn't save. Let me hit save. This is not part of the official PAF, but it gives you that opportunity to say this new employee, who they're going to supervise, if they're going to be a time card approver, or if they're an org manager or an org contact. So this is your kind of one stop. Prior to this, you would have had to send a separate email to PAF-support. This now gives you the ability to quickly find employees, staff, faculty, and students. You can actually assign the supervisor right here. With this new Duties tab, it does add some additional feature. It does make the PAF within the notification a little bit larger. Even though it's not part of the official PAF, it does appear within the PAF, the notification PAF. And so in this example, you can see it is taking almost a page and a little bit more than that, just I guess full page of indicating who this person is supervising. So it did make this version of the PAF longer, but it doesn't for their personnel file. The personnel file that is subtracted, it is not included in their official PAF. Also wanted to draw your attention to, because besides the workshops we're providing, one of the things that we really try to stress is that our PAF preparers really look at considering setting up vacation rules when they're absent, and also work list access. Work list access is different than a vacation rule. Work list access is more of a collaborator approach or a team approach, where others who you set up can actually act on your notifications. E-business is designed in general to record who actually is acting on it. So if someone else does approve in your absence, it will show that other person approving it. But a work list access, I would highly recommend you set up within your office, or maybe even between departments. That way, when you're unexpectedly gone, someone can actually act on your PAFs. So don't forget about vacation rules and work list access. The PAF system also has been reworked. The terminate temporary tool is now within a click of a button. The manage proxy users is not a new feature, but it is a feature that is not utilized often. This gives you the ability to share your PAFs that are in working status with others. If you work within an organization, you could see someone else's PAFs within your organization, but you couldn't submit them on their behalf. This allows others to actually submit and edit PAFs on your behalf. Again, a great tool for when you're going to be on leave, or you just have a team approach to PAFs within your department. The other feature that has been changed is really the searching capabilities. The employee name has the same logic that is now used on the online directory. So you can actually search by a combination of first, last name, commas. It really does, it has stronger logic in finding what you're looking for. The view advanced search has also been beefed up. So besides having all the different statuses that you can search for, almost every field within the PAF system, you can now do a search. So let's say you are looking for everyone that is T-fall between a particular year. You can actually search on these schedule and pay for that particular assignment category. So very detailed search. If you have been asked to pass, how have you handled someone that isn't actually working 5 months, but more 2 months, you could search just by 2 months and pull those examples up, and you don't even have to do a date range. So if you're looking for previous examples on how to complete a PAF, all of that is right here. So some really good features have been added to the new PAF system. I click back on view. The help has also been, again, the PAF help support. I'm going to click right there, and we're going to click on down below. The change PAF support page is very long. It gives you examples for all the different types of change PAFs. I'm going to click on reappointment and extension just to give you an example. You can see it went past half the page. That's how long this page is. And it actually shows you, here's an example of what a faculty term, renewable term would look like, what fields you would be using, what you'd be selecting, the difference between faculty temp. Here are the fields and what options or values you would be selecting, and even graduate assistants. So we've provided examples for all different types of PAFs. Right now is the time to get ready for the summer PAFs or SMO PAFs. This support page has also been significantly enhanced. It is very detailed on what who you can create the SMO PAFs for, the summer memorandum of appointment, and also the summer work declaration forms are here accessible for all the PAF preparers, because as you know, those you need to attach to the PAFs. If you're trying to figure out how to determine the percent of time for summer, all of that is right here, following the charts. Here's the 4 weeks. How do you determine, so forth. All of that is right here. I'm going to go back to the summer. We even have guidance on when you're trying to make decisions on what to select for the different fields within the summer. And so very detailed. I would highly recommend before you start any summer PAFs that you go through this page. It even describes on, for example, if you have a faculty member that has 2 assignments, you always want to apply the summer to the primary assignment because their retirement benefits come out of their primary assignment. And so we need to make sure that that's being selected. So these tips are all right on the single page right here. I see several questions coming up on.
Yeah, are you ready for questions?
Yep, sounds good. I can take that.
Okay, so for fall 21, when can they begin grad PAFs?
That guidance typically comes out of the graduate college, so I would be waiting for their email.
Okay. Is this available for temporary faculty, specifically early access to email and e-learning?
Correct, yes.
Are there any other questions related to the PAF changes or HR in general that Beth maybe could answer for you?
I highly recommend you attend one of the workshops if you have the time. And again, we have 3 more sessions coming.
We do have an answer to the equipment off use topic that we were discussing earlier regarding the form. An email notification is sent to the employee supervisor for approval whenever an off-campus use form is submitted. IT will tag the computers, and if the computer doesn't have a tag, please submit the off-campus use form with a detailed description of the asset. And when the equipment is no longer needed off campus, you can just send an email to Deanne Lehman in Financial Accounting and Reporting, just stating that the asset was returned. At this time, we've answered all questions, but we will turn it over to everyone on campus to ask any additional questions you might have for our panelists. We have an incoming question from Katrinka. When we receive notice to do the terminate temporary for an adjunct faculty, or can we do these now for fall? When do we receive notice?
The only time you would have to be doing that in May. So once we hit May, you can start processing those termination PAFs. And just like you indicated, you will receive notice. That is one specific change that has happened with the new launch. Prior to the new enhancements, only the org contact within the department would receive that notification. Now, everyone within your organization that has the MW04 transaction, the ability to create a PAF, everyone will now receive that notification. So we have expanded, and that was at the request of that group. And those you can start in May. So they will not appear until May on that terminate tool. If someone is leaving prior to the appointment expiration date, then you can process a termination PAF. But if they're completing the full semester, you do need to wait until May.
Okay,
So 2 more days.
Last call for questions for our panelists. Seeing none, I thank everyone for participating in the spring BPUG meeting. As always, we greatly appreciate all the work that you do to help us continue to support students and our faculty to do the mission of the university. So everyone have a great summer, and we will try to see everyone next fall for our next BPUG meeting.